What if I told you that a cold-blooded murderer might make a better life-saving decision than you or me? Let me explain. In Kevin Dutton's groundbreaking book, The Wisdom of Psychopaths, he takes us into one of the most famous thought experiments in moral psychology, the trolley problem, and shows us what happens when you let a psychopath take the controls. Imagine this. A runaway train is hurtling down the tracks. 5 unsuspecting workers are stuck on the track ahead, unable to escape in time. You're standing next to a lever. If you pull it, the train will switch to a different track. But there's one person standing on that track too. Do you pull the lever? Kill one to save 5? Most people feel torn. Some say yes, some freeze. Some argue it's not their place to decide who lives or dies. But now comes the darker twist, the version that reveals something chilling about how different our minds can be. In the second version of the problem, you're not standing by a switch. You're standing on a footbridge above the track, and next to you stands a large man. The train is still coming. The 5 people are still in danger. The only way to stop the train is to physically push this man off the bridge. His body will stop the train. He dies. The 5 live. Now what? This is where most of us hesitate. The switch scenario felt indirect, mechanical, distant. But pushing someone to their death with your own hands, that's different. That's personal. That's emotional. It feels like murder, but not for a psychopath. Kevin Dutton conducted a version of this experiment with real, diagnosed psychopaths, many of them in high-security prisons. The results were clear and immediate. Psychopaths are more likely to endorse the utilitarian option, sacrificing one to save many, writes Dutton, and they do it with cold-blooded efficiency. While most people squirmed, stalled, or avoided choosing, the psychopaths acted decisively. They pushed the man, no hesitation, no remorse. Why? Because they weren't emotionally involved. The parts of the brain that light up in most of us, especially the amygdala, responsible for fear and empathy, were quiet, silent. Like a surgeon making an incision, their decision was clinical. To a psychopath, emotion is an inconvenience, Dutton explains. It's a glitch in the system. And here's the kicker. These aren't dumb people. Some of them have above-average IQs, and their logic is airtight. 5 lives are worth more than 1. Simple math. They just don't care about how it feels. One of the most telling quotes comes from a participant in the study who said, "Why are you even asking me this? Of course you push him. 5 versus 1. Done. Cold, logical, effective, and a little terrifying, eh?" But Dutton isn't just trying to scare us. His message is more nuanced. He argues that psychopathic traits, in moderation, can actually be useful, even desirable, in certain fields. Professions like emergency surgery, bomb disposal, military leadership, high-stakes finance, law enforcement, courtroom law. All these require emotional control, fearlessness, decisiveness, and sometimes even charm without emotional entanglement. Psychopaths aren't all mad killers, Dutton says. Some are just very, very focused people, with the dial turned up a bit too high. In fact, in another part of the book, Dutton lists professions ranked by their psychopathic traits. CEOs, lawyers, media presenters, and surgeons are at the top. Nurses, care workers, and teachers at the bottom. So what can we learn from all this? First, that morality is more fluid than we think. It's not always about good versus evil. Sometimes it's about how we feel and how those feelings shape our choices. Second, that empathy can be both a strength and a weakness. In situations where quick, life-saving action is required, too much empathy can paralyze. Psychopaths don't have that problem. And third, that maybe we all have a little bit of the functional psychopath in us, and in the right doses, that might not be a bad thing. But here's the real question. Would you pull the lever? Would you push the man? And more importantly, would you sleep at night if you did? Because the psychopath would, and they'd sleep very well.